Hello and welcome to Leaders of Tomorrow Season 10. It's been 10 seasons of empowering small businesses such as yourself, hand-holding and guiding you along your growth journey. I'm Sunanda Jayaseelan. Tonight, we are bringing you our Leaders of Tomorrow Town Hall from Pune, talking about the electric vehicle space, what's giving wheels to the EV bandwagon, all of that being posed to a panel. On the show tonight, a conversation with Sudhir Mehta, founder Eka Mobility, Dhiman Kadam, co-founder GoEgo, and Sandeep Mukherjee, CEO and co-founder of BeLife. Could you tell us, your company, your genesis, your journey as an entrepreneur? Maybe I can come to you first, Sandeep.
Great. Thank you, and it's a great honor being here today. I represent BeLife. I'm the co-founder and CEO of BeLife. We are India's first multi-brand EV platform, which is omni-channel in nature. We have a digital as well as physical touch points, experience centers, and we encourage and we drive adoption of electric vehicles by offering multi-brand products and services related to EV under one roof. That's what we do. Personally, I've been turned entrepreneur, about 4 years back. Prior to that, I'm ex-Nokia, ex-Microsoft myself, having worked in India and in the Nordics. And I think this is the greatest time to be an entrepreneur and a founder in India.
Yeah, so I represent GoEgo Network. We are the guys who charge your electric vehicles. What that means is that we are the guys who are in those plug points, and then you end up putting your mobile phones. So we are the guys behind the scenes, wherein we are proud to be the promoters of adoption, because we are the guys who create the infrastructure for you to be at ease. What people currently think of while buying an EV is range anxiety, that what if my electric vehicle doesn't get charged? So we are the guys who are helping you so that you can travel seamlessly and move to electric quickly. We are obviously made in India, a factory based in Maharashtra, the entire ecosystem based out of India, and the entire R&D happens in the Netherlands. So this is how we as a startup are placed. In fact, we are one of the few lucky infrastructure startups who have been funded in India, and that's a great space to be in. My previous experience, a previous startup, which I exited out of in 2019, and that was into the automotive space. So for me, it's a full 180 degrees switch, which is from tailpipe pollutants to clean mobility. So really proud. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Sudhir Mehta, chairman of Eka Mobility and Pinnacle Industries. Very old hand at the auto industry compared to all the young people here. I've been in the industry for 25 years. We started Eka Mobility with the very clear idea that India is going to become the largest EV market outside of China in the next 10 years. We are at the cusp of a complete revolution as far as EVs and hydrogen vehicles are concerned. And we are focused on electric buses and electric LCVs. Our engineering center is 5 meters away from here. The next office, Panchil Tech Park. We have a team of about 300 people, out of which 200 have been focused on electric vehicle mobility. Our first product is a 9-meter city bus, which just got homologation a week ago. And we will come with a range of light commercial vehicles in the coming months. We also support an incubator here in Pune, which works with more than about 40 EV startups. And I think Pune will be, again, one of the main centers for the EV activity around the world. Thank you.
Sudhir, so I want to come to you for this follow-up question. And you were saying, you have almost 2 to 3 decades of experience here in this space. And my question is just going back to the theme that we're discussing today, which is the future of India's green startups and how this EV movement can be given more wheels. And my question to you is, yes, there's a lot of work that's happening as far as the action in the EV space. It's open to the rest of our panelists, but first I want Sudhir to respond to this. Offline, we were discussing some of the numbers, and India has a very long way to go when it comes to the mix between EV and the ICE engines. What can give wheels to this movement, in your opinion?
So very simple. What is giving wheels to this movement is fuel prices. Essentially, there is two aspects always to electric vehicles. One is the sustainability aspect, which is extremely important. But ultimately, what sells is, does it make commercial sense or not? Customers in India are very, very smart, and ultimately, when any product makes commercial sense, it starts to happen. What's now happened is that inflection point actually has come much sooner than many of us anticipated. If you look at any industry figures, the idea was, of course, there is a very clear statement right from the Prime Minister downwards that we need to move towards electric mobility. But the inflection point which has now happened in the last 1.5 years is really the fuel prices. And ultimately, what sells for vehicles is the total cost of ownership. TCO, the only thing that matters. And for TCO, specifically for commercial vehicles, the TCO has now become positive for electric vehicles, which is why the adaptation will happen. On passenger cars, if you see the world over, the adaptation was very low initially. They were the people who were concerned about initial brands. Brands like Tesla came in, they came up with very innovative products. But the real adaptation starts to again happen when you start to see the cost of ownership becomes in line with the conventional vehicles. So which is why, as I said, I'm kind of going out on a limb and saying it very clearly, but I stand by this statement that in India, we are going to have the largest EV market outside of China, and that's very simple because we have the largest two-wheeler market in the world. We have one of the largest bus markets in the world, and now the shift towards public transport is happening. Last mile delivery, we are a 500,000 market, which is growing to about 700,000. Three-wheelers is a major market. So if you take any of these, given the fact that the adaptation of electric vehicles is going to happen, and people who travel more, the more you travel, the better an electric vehicle is. And in India, the vehicles are typically used more than they are in the West. So this is probably the reason I see adaptation happening very fast in India.
What is going to give wheels? What is going to increase the adoption of EVs? It's not a simple solution, it's not a simple answer, but the top 2 or 3 things that you want to call out, maybe to you, yeah, first.
The way we look at it is there are 3 large barriers to adoption. Okay, number 1 is awareness. Second is accessibility. And the third thing is affordability. These are, if you look at all the problems, you can club it under one of the 3 broad buckets, right? Awareness was a challenge some time back. And I believe today, even with people knowing about electric vehicles, there is general awareness, but understanding which EV is right for you, right? That sense of knowledge, that sense of expertise, that's still not penetrated into the larger audience, right? We believe that the Indian adoption, the revolution, EV revolution that we talk about, would be led by two-wheelers. India being the largest two-wheeler market in the world, right? And that's the form factor which is most common, most familiar, and that will see, when you look at India as a big pyramid, the big belly of the pyramid is the two-wheelers, right? And that is where you are seeing the number of two-wheeler companies which are coming in, homegrown or from outside, is the maximum. So awareness, second thing being accessibility, whether it is to a retail point, an experience center, like what we are trying to drive, a multi-brand experience centers across India, where wherever you go, you get a great experience of EVs, you get great EV experts, right? You get the right choice of products, right? And the third thing, under that only, in accessibility, the charging stations, right? Access to right products and access to charging infrastructure. That becomes the accessibility barrier. And the third thing is affordability, which we are all aware of, right? And what is the total cost of ownership?
So what happens is that there is a big switch in mindset when it comes to buying an electric. We stay in housing societies, as we see. So from talking to the chairman, where getting installed a electric charging point, whether it will be safe, whether there is standardization across that platform, then going ahead and talking to the MSEB, which is basically your DISCOM, your service provider for electricity. They will come up with, okay, you need to extract some load, so they'll extract some money from you. Plus then there is a meter which is going to be enhanced. So all these are barriers for you to cross. Whereas the experience on the IC engine side is, you go, you pay the check, and yeah, whenever the delivery is coming, it's coming.
I'm going to take a quick commercial break. On that note, we'll continue with this panel discussion on the electric vehicle space. That's coming up in just a moment. Do stay tuned. Welcome back with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow. Tonight, we're bringing you part 2 of the Leaders of Tomorrow Town Hall edition from Pune. Any questions? Maybe someone who put up their hand about the EV. Yes, the gentleman at the back.
I want to ask you the basic question, why people are going away from EV is the safety. The safety concern is big concern right now, other than infra. If I go to Mumbai, if I have battery discharge, that is a different problem. But there are so many incidences of fire, including Tata vehicle, Ola vehicle, so many things are there. So how we are not talking on that subject as such? That is the major thing why people are actually diverting from EV. Availability is there, this ARAI doesn't have any standard to get it approved. What is EV? So we are in dilemma whether to go for EV or not to go for EV.
Interesting question, and I would like to explain it through and through. Multiple parts to it. First of all, the availability of electric vehicles, that is a myth. You go to any showroom, there is a waiting. So I don't think availability of electric vehicles is like really today you book it and tomorrow you get it kind. So there is a kind of gap, at least on the four-wheeler front, there is almost 6 to 9 months of delay which is happening. Apart from that, the safety side of it, I think these are all teething issues, sir. Please give the industry its own time. We are not even 1%.
Myself from electronics line, I would like to understand your vision in next 5 years about microelectronic components used in e-vehicle, because there are many upgradations happening in wireless technologies from Nokia. So specifically when wireless parts or electronic components part, how we are ensuring reliability, sustainability of the technology after 5 years, because we are expecting vehicle to live at least 5 to 7 years of life. So what is your vision about this? Because that will be a major concern about the repairing cost in the long run. Thank you.
Sure. So I'll step back a little from the question that you asked. What is basically an EV? An EV, if you see, typically 40% of the cost comes from the battery. The next element of an EV is going to be the power electronics and all of these electronics which go into that. And this is where there is a very large opportunity to produce these items in India. Many of them today are being imported, but as the market evolves, many of them will start to be made in India. Electronic components typically are now very reliable. EVs are designed, at least I can tell you about, we are designing the bus for a 12 to 15 year life minimum. And also the light commercial vehicle is 7 to 10 years. Battery technologies are now moving where you will normally get at least a 5 to 7 year first life of a battery, and then after that it goes into residual life. There are already battery technologies available in India which are claiming that they are 12 to 15 years first life. So battery technology is continuously evolving. Along with it, the electronic components are evolving. And actually, there is a very mature system for testing electronic components. I'll give you an example. I'm president of the Maratha Chamber of Commerce, Industry and Agriculture in Pune. We set up recently and only inaugurated an electronics cluster where we spent about 75 crores which is partially funded by government and partially by industry, and you can go and get any electronic component tested there. So this system is fairly mature in India. I'm not worried on the life of these components. You will always have one-off use cases, but if you are buying a product from a company which is reliable, which has the basic R&D infrastructure. Again, I think the point which was raised earlier was very important. This is a nascent industry. For two-wheelers, at last count, there were 254 manufacturers of two-wheeler EVs in India. Now, you cannot say that the first 5 and the last 5 are going to be exactly the same in infrastructure. It's unlikely to happen. So this is going to be an evolution in the industry where people will learn, the industry will grow, there will be, let's say, some players who become big, and then the industry will evolve. But overall, I can give you complete confidence that this industry globally is very safe, is very reliable, and in fact, the point that was made was very important. EVs have much lower number of moving parts. So in effect, when actually you calculate the TCO, the cost of repair and servicing, which used to be actually the way that auto companies made money. You did not make money in selling vehicles, you made money in servicing. Unfortunately for us, that business is pretty much gone because there is no replacement business. What goes wrong in an EV? Almost nothing.
We've run out of time on the panel, so I'll very quickly take closing comments. I was wondering if anyone would bring up the China comparison. We were discussing this offline, and the figures that I understand is that right now we are just about 1/10 of the market if you're looking at any of the developed markets. Europe, US, China, of course, I understand is the largest when it comes to this space. What's it going to take for us to reach that level is my question, and should we aspire for that?
Completely, we must aspire for it. I think while we discussed only the EV market today, there is a factor of opportunity which is probably 5 to 10 times bigger, which is also exports. And India will get there as it's gotten there for two-wheelers. Two-wheelers, as all of you are aware, from the city of Pune, the company that makes two-wheelers exports more than 50% of the production. In 5 to 10 years, I think the same will happen for EVs. After 10 years, we will be the single largest EV market outside of China, and hopefully a large percentage of that will be exports out of India. So very, very bright future. Don't look at it in months. Nobody can predict what will happen in months. Look at it over a years or a decadal kind of perspective.
Thank you so much for that, Sudhir. One thing, I know there are a lot of things that need to be fixed, but one thing as far as the policy framework is concerned, you think needs to be fixed and fixed urgently for more rapid adoption?
I think we have to move out of the subsidy regime. It just blocks your mindset. It's like an endless amount of money, which is the promise of the future. I think what can be done, which was done in China, which can be replicated from the Europe side, is that you switch it to 10% of all number plates will be green, will be electric vehicles. That means every 1,000 number plates you're producing in a range, 900 only can be ICs. So automatically you have 10% people who are going to be buying those electric vehicles because those number plates are going to be that much lesser. And that's how I think is one part of it. See, again, on the policy front, from my first answer, like the central says a particular thing, but then there is the DISCOM, there is the electricity provider who is in between, who doesn't have a clue about, means there have been instances in our neighboring cities where the DISCOM didn't have a clue about what a green meter is. They are wondering, and that has not trickled down. So the policy is made, then making sure that the policy is actually getting drilled down to the last user. That means you and me. So I think what is the biggest problem here is that DISCOMs are in that habit of generating a bill monthly, right? So they are not in the consumer psyche. They are not like me or him who are like, sir, whether your charging session was good or not. They don't call you up and say that, sir, aaj light aayi thi kya? Sir, acha laga kya? Wo light, aaj pura din, 24 hours we were providing you electricity. They don't do that. They don't have that customer psyche. So that is what I think the government needs to really, really push for, that these guys make sure that whatever policy has come into effect, gets actually transferred to the last guy or the last mile there.
I'll give you the last word. There was a question in terms of where are the opportunities for small businesses. One or two trends that you could perhaps call out, because the EV space is large. You were saying offline that because we are so small in terms of the penetration, it means the opportunity is just so much more. Just one or two of the big opportunities you want to call out.
What I would comment on this is, since this is also a startup forum, so I'll just bring the focus back to startups. And I feel tremendous opportunity. The EV revolution is going to happen whether you like it or not. Okay, the role startups can play is that we can accelerate this rate of adoption, right? And startups always disrupt. Okay, that's the core DNA of any startup. For example, when we started off, so there should not be single brand in one store. Every consumer should get choice. You go into a store, there should be 5 brands of EVs. That's what we have done. And everyone is loving it. Everyone is telling us, boss, yes, this is what the consumer wants, right? So I feel startups are going to disrupt. Startups are going to accelerate this adoption of electric vehicles. A couple of great opportunities is one, definitely on connecting the consumer to the brands. People are manufacturing, people are setting up charging, but who is taking care of the consumer? Eliminating consumer barriers and connecting to the consumer is a great opportunity. In terms of battery swaps is a great opportunity. Absolute ethical recycling, right? Ecological friendly recycling of batteries, discarded batteries, chargers is going to be a huge opportunity going forward, right? Right now we don't have the critical mass for which it might not be a great viable business opportunity, but I know some companies. One of my friends, he runs a company called Karo Sambhav, right? Great startup themselves, doing great business in recycling electronic waste. Similarly, there is a great opportunity in recycling and disposing ethically, batteries and associated materials. So I see these as the big opportunities.
Thank you so much to this fantastic panel, and to our audience as well. A round of applause to our panelists. Thank you so much. Out of time on tonight's conversation. If you have any feedback for us, do let us know. Our details are on your screens as we speak. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.